every time I log into social media, I see the same 3 book recommendations with the same 3 book tropes and also the same 3 general basic ass opinions about said books. And what's even worse is that when I look into the covers or I read the synopsis, I end up having a pretty clear idea of what the book plot is going to be about and how the book is going to end up, because it's just so clear that we are writing the same story over and over again that we are not surprised anymore. How many of these stories do we have to read in order for us to realize that we are being sold the same story? Are we not bored? Welcome back, my gorgeous viewers and readers. I hope your weekend was filled with cute eyes, latte dates, and new exciting reads. And before we jump into today's topic, I want to let you all know beforehand that today's video is going to be very opinionated and it's going to be quite spicy. So if you don't take things too hard, or if you take things too hard, or you don't take criticism well, I recommend you to move along, because this video is going to ruffle some feathers and it's probably going to ruffle yours. This topic started because the other day I was scrolling on Instagram trying to find some light novel romance recommendations, because after reading all these gore and all this horror and all this cannibalism, I sometimes need something to sweeten my palate, right? I can't just be reading about depression and not feeling depressed, right? Sometimes I just need some fluff and something that makes me feel good and warm and fuzzy inside. So I was scrolling on Instagram, and tell me why I was seeing, or like I was looking at the same 10 book recommendations, right? And the worst part is that they always had the same keywords, right? It was always enemies to lovers, or grumpy with sunshine, golden retriever boyfriend, sexy hot romance, like all these kind, like very specific keywords, and always the same 10, 15 romance books. Obviously, the first thing that I thought was, maybe this is your own making, girl, because at the end of the day, the algorithm feeds you what you like, right? So I thought, initially, I thought that this was my own making, because at the end of the day, I have built my algorithm brick by brick, right? So I started looking into other genres, right? Like not only light romance or slice of life type of romance, but I thought, okay, let me look into romantasy, for example, or any sort of other types of romance. And the same shit happened. The worst part is that the keywords were exactly the same, right? Specifically for romance. I saw enemies to lovers, I saw grumpy with sunshine and golden retriever as well, and more specifically sexy hot romance. And I was like, okay, this is really fucking strange, because I don't think I have a sexy type of algorithm, because I know that there are a lot of people out there that the only thing they have is thirst traps, right? I don't have a single thirst trap in my algorithm, not only on Instagram but also on TikTok, just because I don't like them. They personally do nothing to me. So I did not understand why I was getting smart recommendations when there's nothing of that sort in my algorithm. So obviously, in my own flabbergast, I was like, okay, let me look into other genres, not subgenres, but genres in specific, and see if this is happening as well. And lo and behold, I go into fantasy, and literally, obviously, we don't have the same keywords, but literally the same 10 book recommendations appear into my For You page on BookTok, for example. But also the keywords changed, but they were the same all over the fantasy books, right? We had like found family, for example. Enemies to lovers appeared everywhere for some reason, but I know exactly what reason. But anyways, but yeah, they were like, the keywords changed, but all the books had the same keywords. And I went into sci-fi as well, same shit, like the same thing happened as well. So I was like, okay, this is surely not the algorithm, right? And also, this is surely not a genre specific thing, or like a genre specific issue, because if this only happened in romance, or if this only happened in fantasy, I would say, okay, maybe the issue are the type of readers that we find, right? But no, the fact that this happened all across the genres in literature tells me that this is a wider issue and it's a bigger problem that I ever thought there was. One thing that actually really made me chuckle was when I was looking into light romance and I saw that many of the book recommendations that I saw on my For You page were corporate type of romance, right? So like office or marketing type. And many of these books had the enemies to lovers tag. And I was like, why do you have enemies to lovers in your book? Like, Mark from Sales is not your enemy. He's just a dick, right? Like, you just don't like him. That doesn't mean that he's your sworn enemy that you are meant to kill. Are you stupid? Why are you using this tag? Another example that I have is horror authors using cannibalism and gore as a way to attract the masses, right? Because I think that the best type of horror is the one that doesn't include any sort of physical pain, right? Or that doesn't include any sort of gore. Because at the end of the day, it is very easy for you to write something disgusting and something that like creates a negative reaction on the readers. But it is really hard to write something that is truly terrifying that doesn't include any sort of violence, right? And this is why I think that the vast majority of the people that use these trendy tags don't actually use these tags as it used to, or like as it should be, or these tropes, but they use it as a way to attract the masses and try to gain as much traction and as much readers as possible. Just because people actually follow these tropes, they don't actually enjoy reading these things. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, we have to think rationally, right? As writers, what we want is to make sure that our book has as much success as possible, or has as much traction as possible, which at the end of the day, I understand why people would use these tropes or misuse these tropes, because I think the main problem are the readers, right? Because there are so many people that are just going onto social media to find the specific tropes or the specific tags, like in AO3, right? Like, this is fan fiction all over again. And this is one thing that actually grinds my gears. And it's the fact that many of you are not actually reading because you want to enjoy the book, or you want to enjoy this specific author, or the art that the author offers, right? You want to enjoy the trope. You just want to read the tag. And because many of these big content creators know exactly how the algorithm work and how the trends work and how your brain works, what they do is they promote the same type of books or the same keywords in order to make sure that their post or the post, or like everything that they create, have as much traction as possible, right? So for example, if me as a content creator, right, if I actually did not give a shit about the content that I produce, or I just wanted as many likes as possible in order to make sure that I grow as fast as possible, what I would do is I would be promoting the kind of books that I see everywhere on social media with my own twist, right? So I would be promoting romanticy, dark fantasy, or dark romance, and I would be promoting all these books that I haven't even read, or maybe if I have read them, I actually haven't enjoyed them, but just because I see everyone talking about them, I would post them, and I would actually make sure that my algorithm feeds, or that my posts are fed to readers from the algorithm, right, or from the platform. That is why we always see the same books recycled over and over again, right? Because content creators know exactly what you're looking for, or what readers are looking for, and also writers are creating these stories because they know they will be successful. Because many readers in the book community have no idea what they want, or like they have no idea and no interest in looking at the art behind the books. They just want to read the tags. Whilst I understand that this is something that has been going on for ages, because we had like the 1980s type of romance, and then we have the dystopian novels, we had vampires, angels, and now we're focusing into sportsmen and the fae for some reason. I still find that there was a before and after with social media, more specifically in these past years, because now we are focusing on tropes. We are not focusing on what the story is about. We are focusing on what are the things that are happening in the plot or within the plot, right? Why are we always sharing bets? Or why is it enemies to lovers, for example? Or why is it there's someone who is grumpy and someone who is a sunshine? Or why is it that there's always someone that like a lost love that then just comes back and then they reunite, and then there's always a triangle or like love triangles? Why are the stories the same? This is the one thing that I don't understand, because you can't create, like, you can absolutely create something that is trendy but that is still meaningful. And more specifically, as a reader, you should actually care about the story. You shouldn't be caring that much about the tropes, because why are you reading the same story over and over again? It doesn't fucking matter if the bed is shared, okay? What matters is what is happening in the story. One example that I think perfectly summarizes what I've been trying to say is Icebreaker. So first of all, obviously we see that Icebreaker was published in the last few years and also follows the recipe for success, right? Which is looking into sportsmen, because people are obsessed with ice hockey, more specifically with ice hockey players, which I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They tend to be quite hot. But anyways, we're talking about sports romance novel, right? So obviously I was very excited to read this book because I am a figure skater. As if you don't know, I was a pro athlete for around 5-6 years, and actually I was a figure skater for more than 12 years, right? So I've been through it. I know exactly the world in and out, right? I know what is going on. I know the drama. I know everything, right? So I go into reading this book with high expectations, because I'm like, oh, there's going to be a romance, light romance, and also they're going to talk about ice skating or skating in general, which is something that I am incredibly passionate about and that I miss every single day after retiring. So I go into the book. Tell me why this girl has no fucking idea about skating in like at all. More specifically, you don't even know about, you know even less about ice hockey, right? Because you literally went onto Google, like Googled what is the hardest jump to do in ice skating, and then just went with it, because that's not how training works, first of all. Also, you absolutely missed the opportunity to talk about ice skating, all the drama that like literally is required in skating, right? There is so much drama that you could be talking about, but no, you decided to focus on something else, right? And then you make the story feel empty, and the story is literally, there are so many loopholes, and also the smut is so unnecessary. And honestly, I literally give it a 1 out of 10. It was so bad. But this is the example, like this is the perfect example of what is happening in literature right now, right? That there are recipes for success, and then everyone is just copying these like this recipe, right? Like, let's say, 20 grams of smut, you need 100 grams of enemies to lovers, you need this, you need that, you need a conflict. And it's just like every single genre has a recipe for success. Same happens with sci-fi, same happens with fantasy, with romanticism, same happens with horror. You find that every single book that is recommended always follows the structure and always follows the specific recipe, and the ingredients are the tropes. Look, at the end of the day, I understand that everyone has their preferences, that reading is not that serious for many people, or that at the end of the day, we should let people enjoy things, right? But I am begging you to please go onto social media and be honest with your opinion and be honest with yourselves, right? Because I can't be looking and reading all these book recommendations, but there's the same story over and over again, and then you're telling me that this is the next Pride and Prejudice. I can't tolerate this, and this is your fault, right? Because I can't be looking at a story about cowboys, right? About a guy being a cowboy and then it's enemies to lovers because they have two different ranges or whatever. They have two different farms and they are competing with each other. And you're telling me, oh my God, this is revolutionary. And the only thing that is revolutionary is that the guy has a porn stash, right? Like, please be honest with yourselves and tell me, look, this book is basic. This book is the same recipe that we follow for every single book, but it's still good. I still enjoyed it. And also at the same time, I don't want to hear that the book has a spice or how spicy or like how much you enjoy the spice or the smut in the book. Just let people discover things, okay? Because many people will read this book just because it has spice, because they are addicted to porn. So please just be honest with your opinions. It doesn't matter what you read, just be honest with the books that you read, and be honest with the kind of book that is. It's not Pride and Prejudice, it's not the next trend, it's not this, it's not that. It's just a mediocre book that you enjoy reading, just something that lets you, like, that is a light romance novel that allows you to enjoy and gives you comfort. That's all. And same thing with horror, because this is not something that is exclusive with light romance or with romance in general. I want us to be honest, because I can't be reading books or reading horror stories that have plenty of plot holes, that have no improvement in the plot whatsoever, and the only thing that it has is, oh, let me just give a mediocre allegory to cannibalism and just like get on with it, right? Because I am so tired of people using cannibalism wrong. Just please just say that this book is mediocre and just get on with it, and just say, oh yeah, I enjoyed it because it has like a weird perspective on gore, or because I enjoyed it because the whole family dies, whatever. But just be honest with your opinions. That's all I'm asking you guys. As a quick conclusion, I don't care what you read. And also, I don't care what you write as an author, or if you use the recipe for success in your genre. The only thing that I care about is that you are honest in social media. Don't stay looking for books that follow the same recipe in order to make sure that you keep with the trends and then you get as many follows and as many likes as possible. Actually, promote the books that you enjoy and promote the books that actually tell stories instead of plot holes, right? And then make sure that you actually care about the quality that you're bringing to the book community, rather than just promoting the next trendy thing. Because at the end of the day, yes, it does not matter to you, but there are many people that are getting off of the book community because they can't stand the people like you. So please just be honest with your opinion, and just be honest with the kind of books that you're promoting. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't bore you or annoy you to death. And before I leave, or before we finish this video, I want to ask you guys, what is the book that actually follows this recipe and that actually uses the tropes correctly, but that you still loved, or that you still think that is incredible, right? Because me, for example, I love Fallen by Lauren Kate, or like the Fallen series. And yes, there are a lot of plot holes, but the tropes there are incredible. Like, they are chef's kiss, right? So yes, I want to know what are the books that are either following these kind of recipes, or that are actually using the trendy tropes that are actually worth reading. That's what I would love to know. Let me know yours either on here below in the comments, or on my social media, and then I'll give them a try, because I actually trust you guys. I trust your opinion. So please make sure that you follow me as well, so we can talk about these big recommendations. And yeah, that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.